Hey Grizzlies, how are you today? It is Mrs. Smith and today is Friday, so you know what that means. First chapter Friday. So this book is so good. I have had it on my bookshelves for a little while now, but I've never had the chance to read it, and I finished it a couple of weeks ago. So this book is called Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. She's just such a good writer. I've read every single thing she's written so far because I loved her book, Between Shades of Grey, so much that I ordered everything that she ever wrote for our classroom library because I just love her. So this is a book about the Holocaust, World War II, which I know is always a topic that interests a lot of you. So I'm going to read the inside blurb. It says, Winter 1945, 4 teenagers, 4 secrets. Each one born of a different homeland, each one hunted and haunted by tragedy, lies, and war. As thousands of desperate refugees flock to the coast in the midst of a Soviet advance, 4 paths converge, vying for passage aboard the Wilhelm Gustloff, a ship that promises safety and freedom. Yet, not all promises can be kept. Inspired by the single greatest tragedy in maritime history, best-selling and award-winning author Ruta Sepetys lifts the veil on a shockingly little-known casualty of World War II. An illuminating and life-affirming tale of heart and hope. So good, right? So yeah, I absolutely, like I said, loved this book. I only share the best books with you. You know that on First Chapter Friday. This book is actually told by 4 different authors. There's 4 main characters. So you have Joanna, you have Florian, you have Amelia, and you have Alfred. 4 very different people who don't necessarily know each other to start, but then by the end, their stories sort of all come together. So today, I'm actually going to read to you the first 3 chapters. So we're going to hear from Joanna. We'll hear from Florian, and then we'll hear from Amelia. All right, I'm going to save Alfred's chapter for you to read on your own because Alfred is a little bit of a kooky kind of character, and I'm afraid if I read this part, it'll just sort of confuse you a little bit, and I don't want to do that. He's kooky, for sure. All right, so here we go. This is technically the first 3 chapters of Salt to the Sea, but they're short. Joanna. Guilt is a hunter. My conscience mocked me, picking fights like a petulant child. It's all your fault, the voice whispered. I quickened my pace and caught up with our small group. The Germans would march us off the field road if they found us. Roads were reserved for the military. Evacuation orders hadn't been issued, and anyone fleeing East Prussia was branded a deserter. But what did that matter? I became a deserter 4 years ago when I fled from Lithuania. Lithuania. I had left there in 1941. What was happening at home? Were the dreadful things whispered in the streets true? We approached a mound on the side of the road. The small boy in front of me whimpered and pointed. He had joined us 2 days prior, just wandered out of the forest alone and quietly began following us. Hello, little one. How old are you? I asked. 6, he replied. Who were you traveling with? He paused and dropped his head. My Omi. I turned toward the woods to see if his grandmother had emerged. Where is your Omi now? I asked. The wandering boy looked up at me, his pale eyes wide. She didn't wake up. So the little boy traveled with us, often drifting just slightly ahead or behind, and now he stood, pointing to a flap of dark wood beneath a meringue of snow. I waved the group onward, and when everyone advanced, I ran to the snow-covered heap. The wind lifted a layer of icy flakes, revealing the dead blue face of a woman, probably in her 20s. Her mouth and eyes were hinged open, fixed in fear. I dug through her iced pockets, but they had already been picked. In the lining of her jacket, I found her identification papers. I stuffed them in my coat to pass on to the Red Cross and dragged her body off the road and into the field. She was dead, frozen solid, but the thought of tanks rolling over her was more than I could bear. I ran back to the road in our group. The wandering boy stood in the center of the path, snow falling all around him. "She didn't wake up either?" he asked quietly. I shook my head and took his mittened hand in mine, and then we both heard it in the distance. Bang! Chapter 2, Florian. Fate is a hunter. Engines burned in a swarm above. The Black Death, they called them. I hid beneath the trees. The planes weren't visible, but I felt them, close, trapped by darkness, both ahead and behind. I weighed my options. An explosion detonated, and death crept closer, curling around me in fingers of smoke. I ran. My legs churned, sluggish, disconnected from my racing mind. I willed them to move, but my conscience noosed around my ankles and pulled down hard. "You are a talented young man, Florian." That's what my mother had said. "You are Prussian. Make your own decisions, son," said my father. Would he have approved of my decisions, of the secrets I now carried across my back? Amidst the war between Hitler and Stalin, would mother still consider me talented or a criminal? The Soviets would kill me, but how would they torture me first? The Nazis would kill me, but only if they uncovered the plan. How long would it remain a secret? The questions propelled me forward, whipping through the cold forest, dodging branches. I clutched my side with one hand, my pistol with the other. The pain surged with each breath and step, releasing warm blood out of the angry wound. The sound of the engines faded. I had been on the run for days, and my mind felt as weak as my legs. The hunter preyed on the fatigue and weary. I had to rest. The pain slowed me to a jog and finally a walk. Through the dense trees in the forest, I spied branches hiding an old potato cellar. I jumped in. Bang! And then the last chapter that I'm going to read to you today is Amelia. Shame is a hunter. I would rest a moment. I had a moment, didn't I? I slid across the cold, hard earth toward the back of the cave. The ground quivered. Soldiers were close. I had to move, but felt so tired. It was a good idea to put branches over the mouth of the forest cellar, wasn't it? No one would trek this far off the road, would they? I pulled the pink woolen cap down over my ears and tugged my coat closer near my throat. Despite my bundled layers, January's teeth bit sharp. My fingers had lost all feeling. Pieces of my hair, frozen crisp to my collar, tore as I turned my head. So I thought of August. My eyes dropped closed, and then they opened. A Russian soldier was there. He leaned over me with a light, poking my shoulder with his pistol. I jumped frantically, pushing myself back. "Fräulein," he grinned, pleased that I was alive. "Fräulein, how old are you?" 15, I whispered. "Please, I'm not German." He didn't listen. He didn't understand, or he didn't care. He pointed his gun at me and yanked at my ankle. "Shh, Fräulein." He lodged the gun under the bone of my chin. I pleaded. I put my hands across my stomach and begged. He moved forward. No, this would not happen. I turned my head. "Shoot me, soldier, please." Bang. All right, so those are the first 3 chapters of this book. Like I said, this is such a great read, and it is based on something that actually really did happen during World War II. Like it said in the very beginning, this boat called the Wilhelm Gustloff. It's a great story. It's a great story. So I hope you get a chance to read this. I think we might have a copy of this in our school library, so you can check it out next year when we finally go back to school. Or if we don't, you can always come borrow it off my bookshelf when you're, you know, in 8th grade and you miss me and you want to come say hi and take a book. You're more than welcome. So I hope everybody is doing well. I hope we're getting all of our work done. I'm noticing that as the time is ticking by here, work is getting handed in a little bit more. Sorry, I got a phone call and that interrupted my recording, but I know that the weather is getting nice, and so it's getting harder and harder to motivate yourselves, but you need to stick with it. You need to persevere. We're almost done here. I know it's really hard to force yourself to get up and get on the computer and get your work done, but you need to finish the year out strong. So, yeah, just keep on keeping on. We can do this. We don't have too much time left. I hope you're all well. I miss you guys to pieces. Those of you who are handing in work, I've been so proud of the work that you're doing. You guys are doing some great stuff at home, and I'm happy to see that. I miss you all to pieces. And yeah, I hope you're okay, and I hope you're making good choices. And if you need anything, reach out to me and let me know. All right, I will see you next week with a new book. All right, take care, friends. Love you. Bye.